I've seen the cost of war. When I came home, I promised to fight for peace, standing up to the most powerful, meeting with both friends and adversaries. Peace gives Hawaii our future, and that's why I'll never stop fighting for peace. I'm Tulsi Gabbard, and I approve this message.
That was Tulsi Gabbard in 2019, the anti-war veteran, the voice of peace. And this is Tulsi Gabbard in 2026, sitting in the Situation Room as the US bombed Iran, the same war she spent her entire career promising to prevent. She sat before the Senate weeks later and deflected when asked why she omitted the very intelligence that undermined the case for war.
Brief the president. Did you brief the president? Did you brief the president if he starts a war of choice, that the likely result would be that Iran would strike adjacent Gulf nations and close the Strait of Hormuz? Did you brief him on those two facts that I think have been consistently the assumptions of the intelligence community?
I have not and won't divulge internal conversations. I will say that those of us within the intelligence community continue to provide the president with all of the best objective intelligence available to inform his decisions.
To date, Tulsi Gabbard has been anti-gay and pro-gay, progressive and Republican, anti-war and pro-war, sometimes shifting positions within the same year. And the further you dig into her story, the harder it becomes to explain.
Each of us has the right to marry, but we don't have the absolute right to marry anyone we want. For example, I'm not allowed to marry my daughter or my son.
I can't marry my sister or my brother.
And I can't marry Kimo. And I can't marry my dog. This doesn't mean we don't have civil rights. Don't open the door to weird marriages. Don't let homosexuals force their values on the people of Hawaii. Vote yes on the marriage amendment.
Tulsi Gabbard was born in 1981 and raised in Hawaii by a father who was one of the state's most prominent anti-gay activists. At 21, she ran for the Hawaii state legislature and campaigned explicitly on her work alongside him to pass a constitutional amendment banning same-sex marriage. The same man singing Hawaiian hymns with his daughter was also president of a non-profit called Stop Promoting Homosexuality America and hosted a radio program called Let's Talk Straight Hawaii. His organization called homosexuality unhealthy, abnormal behavior that should not be promoted or accepted in society. And Gabbard wasn't just raised by him, she was also raised inside the Science of Identity Foundation, a secretive offshoot of the Hare Krishna movement. An audio recording of a spiritual leader obtained by the Daily Beast gives you a sense of the environment she grew up in.
No logic in their explanations that it's somehow normal to shove their fists up each other's anuses, and thereby are unable to convince me that it's normal, or that it's clean, or that it's not sinful, that they lick each other's anuses, or that a man is having sex with a man, or a woman with a woman. They must convert us by force.
Then she joined the army, deployed to Iraq, and came back with a different story. She apologized for her anti-gay past, reinvented herself as a progressive champion, and in 2012 was elected to Congress, the first Hindu member ever elected. She got a Vogue cover, a reputation as the Democratic Party's most exciting new voice, and a brand built entirely around one thing: she would never let America go to war again. She was the anti-war veteran who'd seen the cost of conflict firsthand and made it her entire identity. In 2020, her presidential campaign was literally selling t-shirts that said "No war with Iran," and she meant it. In 2017, she took a secret trip to Syria and met President Bashar al-Assad without notifying congressional leadership. She argued that talking to adversaries was the only path to peace, and her anti-war supporters applauded her for it. Her critics called it an apology to her for a dictator. When conflict broke out in Ukraine in 2022, she argued that years of ignoring Russia's concerns about NATO expansion had helped fuel the situation, a view that resonated deeply with her anti-interventionist base. Republican Senator Mitt Romney, however, called it treasonous lies and parroting false Russian propaganda. To her followers, she was the only politician brave enough to say what nobody else would. To her critics, she was doing the Kremlin's work for them. Either way, she had made her decision. The Democratic Party was no longer her home. And in October 2022, she made sure everyone knew it. She moved to Fox News and the CPAC stage. At CPAC, she accused the left of claiming that using the wrong pronouns was sexual harassment.
They're going so far as to claim that it's sexual harassment to address someone by the wrong pronouns, trying to enforce compliance by regulating our speech and thought.
This is the same woman who had posted this 4 years earlier.
Aloha. In my past, I said and believed things that were wrong. And worse, they were very hurtful to people in the LGBTQ community and to their loved ones.
In 2024, she endorsed Donald Trump, joined the Republican Party, and helped him prepare for his presidential debate. Months later, Trump nominated her as Director of National Intelligence, putting her in charge of 18 intelligence agencies, including the CIA and the NSA. Her followers believed the peace candidate was finally in the room to stop the warmongers. But being in the room changes everything. On February 28, 2026, Operation Epic Fury began. As missiles hit Tehran, the woman who built her entire identity on preventing this exact war wasn't protesting. She was in the Situation Room overseeing the intelligence used to justify it. But the real breakdown came weeks later. Back before the Senate, her written testimony contained a key finding, that Iran's nuclear program had already been obliterated months earlier, meaning the imminent threat used to justify the war didn't exist. She didn't read that section out loud. Senator Warner noticed.
I guess what I'm concerned about, one thing is, even in your printed testimony today on page 6, and your last paragraph on page 6, as a result of Operation Midnight Hammer, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated. There's been no efforts to try to rebuild their enrichment capability. You omitted that paragraph from your oral opening. Was that because the president had said there was an imminent threat 2 weeks?
No, sir, I recognize that the time was running long and I skipped through some of the portions.
She didn't run out of time, she ran out of conviction. The woman who told us Donald Trump was dangerous in 2020 had become the person helping him tell the story in 2026. She approved the message of peace to get elected. She provided the maps for war to stay in power. She's viewed as a traitor by the anti-war movement she once led, and the president who hired her is already publicly questioning her loyalty. It's rarely okay in this administration to be on a different page than the president. Reports are already circulating that Trump is polling advisors on who should replace her. Tulsi Gabbard has oddly enough earned her place on Destined for Hell. Do you think she'll be fired before the end of the year, or is she too useful to let go? Drop a comment below and subscribe if you like this video.